Hey, everybody. What's happening? Welcome to Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I am Dan Vespris, and this is your big weekend in review episode. I'm going to try my best to sort of annotate things as we go, and that'll help with kind of pulling it all together towards the end. But I also realize that I'm not very good at doing these things on the fly, especially when I'm just trying to talk my way through everything. So let's get going. What do we do in this show? You guys know the drill. This is the reverse chronological lightning round Monday, where we go through every single game that happened over the weekend. Okay, not every single game. Most recent game for each of the 30 teams in the NBA. Get ourselves reset for the week ahead. You guys will know everything that's going on. First thing out of the chute today, big news on the injury front. Kristaps Porzingis is expected to return for the Celtics tonight. I know, I didn't believe it. I thought he'd be back near Christmas or the new year. He is officially back a month ahead of schedule, and they said he was running early. But, I mean, this is Porzingis. I wasn't going to believe that until I actually saw it. And now it's happening. There's going to be a long ramp up. He's coming off foot surgery, so there will be a lot of the conditioning stuff that needs to get done. I'm sure they've done some of that prior to him coming back, but I don't think they're going to, hoist a ton of minutes upon him right out of the chute. But obviously, once KP is up to full speed, however many days, weeks, what that takes, it's going to put a pretty good damper on, as I shed a single tear, our boy Al Horford, who I personally thought we were going to get 2 to 3 months of Al Horford time. And now it's looking more like, it's been a little over a month now, month and a half, month and 3 weeks kind of thing before he goes back to being a guy you just sort of drop in on individual moments. Also on the news front, CJ McCollum upgraded to probable and DeJounte Murray upgraded to questionable, and then also listed expected to play on Wednesday. So there was this progression on DeJounte over the last 24 hours. I guess I should have just started with the thing that happened first thing this morning, which is probably not playing in this first game of the week. But New Orleans expected to have both McCollum by today and then DeJounte by Wednesday back in the lineup. That's a big deal for New Orleans. You can probably ultimately, I would think, write Brandon Boston out of your lineup card. And as of this moment, while recording, Nick Richards and Mark Williams just got sent to the Charlotte's G League team in Greensboro for a rehab assignment. So those guys are getting close. And it's just like a shower of good injury news. This is colossal. I don't even know what to do with myself. I'm so over the moon excited about it. I am going to have to do a very fast post on this. And I guess maybe, I don't know, I'll pause the show. We're pausing the show, everyone. I'll be damned. Okay, well, that's cool. Nice way to start the week, I suppose. And it's a weird week, and if you want to know how it all breaks down, you can go back and watch our weekly preview show, which dropped on Sunday in the evening. And that goes through the best way to stream and things of that nature. So we got our week ahead all mapped out. We got a lot to cover, so I guess I should stop screwing around with all this news about Porzingis and DeJounte and McCollum and Mark Williams and Nick Richards and just tell you guys that BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen with the largest selection of odds on everything from football to basketball, college hoops included, NHL, UFC, MMA. They've got it. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. Let's begin our journey backwards through the weekend with Minnesota dropping a close one in Boston. Pretty good ball game. Anthony Edwards just keeps pouring in three-pointers. He's still at 5 a game, which is kind of amazing. The free throw number has come up. That's pushed him into the middle of the second round overall. I still can't imagine that we're going 5 threes a game the entire year, but, so far he is. And so far, he's making a lot of sense as that second round grab. So cool beans there. Rudy Gobert had 20 rebounds. No blocks, though. Dante DiVincenzo, slightly bigger role here with Mike Conley out. I'm of the opinion, I think, that DiVincenzo is going to end up as more of a filler type of guy. He's obviously a start when Conley's on the shelf. He's number 164 overall right now. And I think that's just like kind of the direction he's trending. A couple of bad ones in a row from Naz Reid has pushed him just outside the top 100. He's a hold for me. Jaden McDaniels was a little bit off in this one, but he's been really good for the better part of about 5, 6, 7 games in a row now. So Jaden McDaniels, who we talked about as an ad on our Friday show, I'm going to keep him as an ad or a hold after this one. It was still good enough. He didn't shoot all that well, but 13 shots, 5 fouls in 32 minutes. So maybe that was part of it. A little bit, maybe, perhaps. But that's where we're sitting with Minnesota. And then, you know, I know for head-to-headers, it's sort of a tougher call. But, like, if you can find a way to hang on to Mike Conley, he very clearly makes them better. They're a better team when he's around. And you saw it in the 2 games before he had to miss a little bit of time. And perhaps that's, unfortunately, maybe a reason why they keep his minutes down, because he played more and then now needed some time off. But they need him. I believe firmly that they need him, and I think they know it too. For Boston, things are about to change a little bit. I know Horford's going to sit on the back-to-back. Porzingis is in there. Those 2 guys are going to alternate which back-to-backs they sit probably from now until the end of the season. But otherwise, we're seeing Peyton Pritchard starting to kind of taper off a little bit. I know he was rolling it like a top 45 clip, and then it was 55, and then it was 65, and now it's 75. And I'm not saying that you need to dispose of Peyton Pritchard because he's still number 74 overall, but we kind of knew that the insane clip he was on was not going to last all season because he was shooting over his head. His usage was over his head, so the volume was high. The rate was good. The threes were all going in. Reality strikes. That's just what happens. And we talked about this. 20 games in is where it starts to level off a little bit, and he's at 17 right now. I still think he's a hold. Make no mistake. I'm not trying to say that you should be moving on, but be ready because you might at some point, especially once Porzingis is settled back in, and that's just another sort of usage player we'd have to deal with. Washington lost at Indiana. Bilal Coulibaly had 38 minutes. He's been playing a crap ton of minutes this year, and I love it, and he's a very clear hold. Alex Sarr, 17-14, a steal, 2 blocks, and a three-pointer. This is the sort of upside and why you have to hang on to Sarr as long as humanly possible, because dude is number 144 at 9-cat, despite shooting 36% from the field and 68 at the free throw line. Those numbers are going to come up. And when they do, along with him just getting to do more, and everybody got to do more in this game because there was no Jordan Poole, but this is the type of stuff that we're looking for down the line. He is a very, very versatile fantasy player, and you want to be there when it starts to click. And you guys know me. I don't much care for stashing guys. I just like the upside built into his game, which is going to have points, boards, steals, blocks, some threes. There's just a lot. And he's going to bounce on and off of rosters here probably in the near term. But he's only 44% rostered, so he's floating around out there. If you wanted him, you could probably still get him in some spots. And we've been talking about him for a long time, so whatever. With no Jordan Poole, Keyshawn George slid into the starting 5. He had 15, 5, and 5. And he's generally startable when he starts. That's Keyshawn George again. Malcolm Brogdon played 25 minutes. I don't know. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know what the end goal is for Brogdon on how many minutes they actually want him playing. 25 would not be enough long term. 28, 29 probably would be. I mean, he's just not the 50, 40, 90 guy he used to be. So that's something you kind of have to build into it. Bub Carrington is probably a drop with Bilal and Brogdon back and playing good minutes. I don't think there's enough room for Carrington to play 30 anymore, and he pretty much needs 30 to get to fantasy value, so you can probably move on there. Again, unless you just want to squat on a player for 3 months, which for me is hard to do if they're not putting up some sort of value in the interim. Tyrese Halliburton back in his bed and still couldn't shoot, but did have 21 and 9, and it's fun to play the Wizards because then you get fantasy stats. I still think he's going to be fine. I still think that at some point this year they figure this thing out. But that 38% high volume shooting is a bummer. I'm still attempting to trade for him. Obviously, I'm holding him. I'm not doing any of the panic stuff. TJ McConnell is a stream right now with Ben Shepherd out. He didn't have quite as good of a ball game here, but 22 minutes for TJ is typically enough for him to post some kind of fantasy value. So I think you're okay to lean in that direction. Clippers blew out the 76ers. It didn't have Embiid or Paul George. And we're still sort of like trying to figure out if anyone on the Clippers is going to pick up for Norman Powell while he's dealing with this hamstring thing. And in this one, Derek Jones Jr. was pretty good. And he's been, I guess we could argue, pretty good for 2 in a row. But I just don't trust that he's going to take double-digit shots, even with Norman Powell out, because Powell's been out for 4 games, and Jones has only been good for 2 of those 4. And he gets steals, and, that's always the sort of backdrop to the other stuff he's doing, and he's not that far away from 9 cat value. So I to some degree, I do understand the appeal of Derek Jones Jr. because, again, he's number 125 in 26 minutes a game. If that even goes up to 28 or 29, it's probably enough. So it's very close. It just probably lands more kind of like in the filler zone, which we've talked about it many times. Like there's a value in a filler level player, but I just don't know that it's a guy you really want to target all that bad. My voice is a little bit cooked today, so I'm going to do my best, and you'll just have to bear with me. Chris Dunn is a drop. We talked about that on Friday's show. He had a shot here, and he was a plus 38 in this game, and so he's always in the lineups that are winning for the Clippers, but he's just not doing enough with his time on the court. For the Sixers, with no Paul George and no Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey usually going to get to do a fair amount. We knew Jared McCain was going to come crashing back to earth, but he's a guy you start while those 2 superstars are out. I don't care that this was a bad ball game. Kelly Oubre is probably startable with both Embiid and Paul George out. And Gershon Yabusele also probably startable with Embiid and Paul George on the shelf. He's a little bit more iffy. He does give you an interesting combination of stats because he can block a few shots, get some threes, and get some rebounds. But also you might get this. So I'm a little bit less excited about that one. And frankly, just a little bit less excited about whatever the 76ers are right now. They also have a terrible schedule this week if you're in a head-to-head mode. Caleb Martin, nah. Someone was trying to talk me into him long-term. I forget who, and I was like, I don't think so. Dallas lost in Miami. This one went to overtime. No Luka for the Mavs. Boy, the West is all kinds of goofy right now. Who the hell? Where's Dallas? What are they so far this year? They're 9-8. That's the 9 seed. Warriors, Thunder, Rockets are kind of out in front. Then there's like a Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Suns. Everybody's all bunched up. It's crazy. Jazz and the Pelicans are the only teams not within any kind of striking distance, and that could change as the Pels get healthy. West is nuts. This is a good one for all, like basically everybody on Dallas. Derek Lively had his probably best game of the year, and he played 31 minutes to get there. Gafford managed to do enough with 21 minutes. That's the magic of Daniel Gafford. PJ Washington was awesome again, 21-10 with a couple of steals. He's inside the top 70 on the year. Klay Thompson figured he would do more with Luka out. This is a little bit more what we expected, but still, I would argue not as many shots as I thought because Najee Marshall came in and took 16 shots off the bench. Didn't really do much else with it. And so the hunt for us here is what do you do with Dallas while Luka's out? My take is, and I was already playing PJ Washington, and I was already playing Daniel Gafford, and I don't have Derek Lively anywhere, but I probably would have been playing him as well. I likely move Klay Thompson in with Luka out. And then we were watching to see if Quentin Grimes could be a thing. I don't think he's going to be a thing. And if Najee Marshall could be a thing. The 16 shots are good, but he doesn't do much besides that. A handful of rebounds. I don't think I'm in on it. I think the only thing I would change for Mavericks is I would start Klay Thompson probably. For Miami, and I don't know what's going on with Jimmy Butler's free throw stuff because he took 16 of them. That's good, but he only made under 70%. So his free throw number continues to be super duper low, but everything else seems fine. So hopefully that'll come around. I have to believe that it will. Tyler Hero's field goal percent is beginning to drop as expected. Alec Burks had a nice ball game here. Nope. Pell Larson had a decent game. Nope. No Terry Rozier, so there might have been a hope that Duncan Robinson could get it going. He had some foul stuff, but he's also kind of a nope for me. So just with the Heat, just don't push it. Don't push it. Toronto lost at Cleveland. Jakob Poeltl had 19 rebounds. He continues his very strong start to the year. And there's something really satisfying about Poeltl continuing to put up nice numbers even after Scotty Barnes is back. I do wonder if Kelly Olynyk will ever show his face. And that's the thing that'll probably shave 4 or 5 minutes off of Poeltl's numbers. But we've heard nothing about Olynyk. It was like, he's week to week to start the year. And then it was like, we'll deal with it when we get there. And this is the magic of being a team that nobody's really paying attention to. Apologies, Toronto. Not because you're Toronto, because you're not trying really to win. I mean, they'll win some games, but this is not a team that's hunting for a title. And I feel like, wasn't it Poeltl actually that came out and was like, yeah, we're not trying to win the title this year. It's like, okay, yeah, you said it. You said the quiet part out loud. Poeltl, you're starting. Barnes, you're starting. Barrett in a points league. Oh, God, is he a 9-cat wreck? Grady Dick is out now. He left late with a calf thing, and I think he already got ruled out for their next ball game as of like a half an hour ago. And the game's tonight, so it was bound to drop at some point soon. Does that mean that Ochai Agbaji is worth playing again? I kind of need to see if he's going to get back up to, 10, 11 shots with Grady Dick out, or yes, a dick out. That's when you don't hit it past the front tees in golf. Or are you just going with the main core group and then don't venture too far beyond? Meanwhile, Ty Jerome had the line of the night again. This dude is hotter than hell. I mean, he is the hottest player in the NBA, and it's really not all that close. But hot players cool off. It's not a made-up adage. It's just the honest-to-goodness truth. And the question is when it's going to happen, not if. Ty Jerome is not going to go out there and shoot 65% and hit 4 to 8 3-pointers every ball game because he's not Steph Curry. He's playing like him right now, but 4 games. A lot of guys look like Steph for 4 games. Not many guys look like Steph for 400. Do we play Ty Jerome in the Cavs' next ball game? I'm probably too nervous, but I'm, a little bit of a nervous human by nature. So I shy away. I know he's going to get picked up in a ton of formats, but I don't really want to use Ty Jerome unless I know that Garland or Donovan Mitchell is out. They were in for this one, and he still rocked. But can we guarantee it'll happen again? I don't think we can. And then Brooklyn came in and beat Sacramento in Sacramento. Cam Thomas had 34. Noah Clowney had 18, although he hurt himself. So, sad trumpets on that one, I guess. Nick Claxton played 23 minutes. I don't know how the hell we're going to get that dude up and over the hump. I know he said he's been playing through stuff all season. I still have to hope that eventually, much like with Halliburton, these guys just kind of find a way through the nagging injury stuff. When? I don't know. Claxton's a buy low, but is it low enough kind of guy? Like, what is someone going to be willing to give him up for? I'm not giving up all that much for Claxton. Could you get him for ultra cheap? Then I would look at it. But what is ultra cheap, I guess, is the next question. And maybe we'll have to do a buy and sell show on that kind of thing. Not a lot of takeaways here for Brooklyn. Mostly just the injury stuff, so we'll kind of cross that bridge for the next one. And then over on the Sacramento side, yeah, they got their guys back, but they're having some trouble kind of re-gelling with one another. The Kings are 8-9. They've lost 3 games in a row, and they're just trying to figure out who they are this year. And right now, who they are is a team that doesn't shoot the 3-ball particularly well. Also, with DeMar and Sabonis back, you've got basically the 4, and Keegan Murray is sort of iffy on this one, but I would say the 4 main dudes to play. Keegan is in for me. I still think his field goal percent comes up from 43 to maybe like 45, 46, and that should get him a bit more safely inside the top 100. But yeah, you're not going beyond those guys anymore with Sacramento. Let's take a quick break before we get to Saturday. All right. New York was in Utah and lost. Oopsies. Cat is questionable for the Knicks' next ball game. And again, with the guys playing the number of minutes they have, it was only kind of a matter of time. Cam Payne is playing a lot right now with no bench of any kind for New York. And so they need someone to soak up 25 to 30 minutes. Long term, I don't like Payne's fantasy game. I know he gets a few points and some assists, and every once in a while he'll get you a 3-ball and stuff, but like he had 3 defensive stats in this game. That's not a thing. He's not a great foul shooter, and he's a bad field goal percent guy. Head-to-head schedule type stuff, you could probably look at Payne. Roto games cap stuff, I don't think that I would do it. I don't know there's much else for New York. If Cat sits, do we really want to try playing Jericho Sims? I don't think I'd want to. Do I have to? I feel like they'd be more inclined to play Anunoby and Josh Hart at the 5 and just say the hell with it. Meanwhile, I mean, this was an easy one. Lauri Markkanen was like the easiest buy low we've ever put out there into the universe, other than maybe Jalen Williams last year. Markkanen is up to number 54 now. He was what? I think he was 114 when we did our show on him last week. What is Markkanen over the last week is maybe a better question. Yeah, he's number 5. So, like, it was always a matter of time. He's way better than what he was showing, and now he's got his legs underneath him. He was a plus 30 in this game. Plus 30. The starters for Utah, mostly the starters. It was like a kind of a secondary bunch that just went nuts. Walker Kessler's back, so that's good. You can get him off your IL. Fun. John Collins still put up numbers despite Kessler being back. So Utah now has kind of moved into their like, all right, we pre-tanked. Jazz are 4-12. Now they're in that, like, I guess we can try a little bit for a minute kind of thing. Because odds are, Utah, in looking at the way they're built, like, they're going to probably, well, Blazers will give them a run for their money. They'll probably be the bottom 2 teams in the Western Conference. And then out east, the Wizards are in full tank mode, but the Pistons are trying to win, even if they're not going to win every ball game. They're trying to. The Hornets, I think, are actually trying to win. And if they get centers back, they might have a shot to do it on a day-to-day basis. So if you're Utah, you're like, all right, there's like 2-3 teams in the NBA that are obvious tanking teams right now. So we're in good shape to accidentally win a few. Colin Sexton finally had a better ball game. He bought himself some more time on rosters. I don't even want to talk about Keontae George. You guys knew I was down on him if you weren't in that strict punt mode. And it was full display. Bad shooting, high turnovers. Yucky. Detroit at Orlando. Jalen Duren. I talked about this on Friday's show. I'm really worried about Jalen Duren's role on this Detroit team. He's number 133. He's averaging just 26 minutes a ball game. And he gets more minutes on days where he's actually defending a little bit, but he's just not that good at defense. Not defensive stats, which he's also not very good at, but actual real life, protect your rim, be in the right place at the right time kind of defense. And so Detroit, a team that's now attempting to win some ball games this year, and they didn't have Cade for this one, so that was also problematic. They're going to Isaiah Stewart for an extra 4 or 5 minutes a ball game. There's other things that they're going to try. And I know Isaiah Stewart had 5 blocks here. You're not picking him up. 19 and a half minutes is not enough. But it's problematic for Jalen Duren. No Cade. I thought Tobias Harris would actually do a little more, but this is a lot like what we saw in Philly, where without the sort of gravity guy on the floor, he actually doesn't move into more of a prominent spot. It was Jaden Ivey. That was to be expected. And Malik Beasley got another 12 shots up. If Cade misses another one, you can probably run Beasley out there. You can probably run Ivy out there, even in category formats instead of just points leagues, which is where I was before. And I just want nothing to do with Tim Hardaway Jr. Let's keep going. Franz Wagner is on a run for the freaking ages right now. He's up to number 13 in 9-cat. And I got to do the spiel again. Remember at the beginning of the year, on draft season, I said I didn't want to take Franz in the 40s. And I still feel that way. Because if Paolo was there, and we saw it the first, whatever it was, week and a half of the season, Franz was taking a normal number of shots, and it looked like he was probably going to be ranked in like the 45 to 65 range, which is why I didn't want to take him at 45. And then Paolo went down, and, 18, 19 shots a game got freed up. And so Franz now is taking every shot he can find, and it's great for his fantasy value because, and this is the other side of this coin, from a strict 9-cat perspective, his fantasy game is not bad. He was a good percentages guy who does a little bit of everything, but he wasn't granted the opportunity to do enough of everything while he was the second fiddle. But as the number one fiddle, and we've done this simple math before, like, you never get a bigger chunk of the pie than when you're jumping from number 2 to number 1. Number 3 to number 2 is also a very large chunk of the pie. But Franz has like almost the entire pie right now. The Wagners took 33 shots. No one else on the team took more than 8. So anyway, Franz is great right now. If you could sell him for someone in the top 30, 35 range, I would definitely do it, because Paolo's is still a few weeks out. But that's how you cash in. You got to do it when it's still the person getting Franz, in this case, when that person is still getting something good, because Franz is going to be good for a few more weeks. You have to give up a few more weeks of that to get, hopefully, a few more months of something a little more locked, I guess. In any event, it's a hell of a run, to be sure. Mo Wagner outplayed Goga Batadze. At some point here, Wendell Carter Jr. is going to show back up, and then we're not going to have to worry about that stuff. In the meantime, you can still go Goga. That was an annoying way to say it. And arguably the biggest story from this game, well, two big stories. Jalen Suggs left with a hamstring thing. He'll probably miss a little bit of time. That sucks. Anthony Black is a player to watch. 32 minutes here. But again, he's got some of that young player stuff. Is there enough assist, steal, scoring to cover up the other things? I'm willing to wait a game and find out. My personal biggest story is that right now, in non-back-to-back scenarios, Jonathan Isaac is looking good as hell. I don't see how you can roster him in a head-to-head league. It's almost impossible because he's playing in back to... Well, I mean, I get... He is playing in the back-to-backs, even if it's not going all that great. That's an intriguing one, because he played in their last 2 back-to-backs. His minutes were lower. He averaged more like 18 minutes a game in the back-to-backs versus more like 22, 23 in the non-back-to-backs. And he's doing more in the non-back-to-backs. You can see the energy level's a little better. But this guy's such a steals, blocks maven. He's such a wizard at that stuff that, man, you could almost roster him in a head-to-head league right now. You got to know you're not getting a whole lot besides, a fraction of a three-pointer, maybe close to 1, depending on the games we're talking about. He's rebounding not that terribly. He's at 5 boards a game, more like 6 with the minutes trending up. But you're just, you're block hunting. In 22, 23 minutes a game, Jonathan Isaac can get you 2 blocks a night. It's a ton. So, iffy on the head-to-head side. Roto Games Cap, I'm fully sold on the Jonathan Isaac experience, and I think you should be as well. All right. Memphis and Chicago put up 273 combined points in a regulation basketball game. Jalen Wells scored 26. I don't care. He was bad for like 7 games in a row before this, and he's going to get picked up and then dropped everywhere. Scottie Pippen Jr. had an amazing game, 30 points and 10 assists for Pippen Jr., but it sounds like both Marcus Smart and Ja Morant are super close, and so things are about to get, I guess, less complicated for Memphis, because then they'll just have their main guys. It'll be Ja and Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr., and then we'll go back to going, I wonder if Marcus Smart is going to be a guy. And that'll be the only thing we have to worry about, because right now we're like, should we do Jalen Wells tonight? No. Should we do Scottie Pippen? Yeah, probably. Should we do Jay Huff? Nah. Should we do Brandon Clark? Well, nah. Should we do Santi Aldama? Maybe. And then, hopefully, within the next couple of days, we can just be like, the hell with all of those guys. We've got the main dudes back. That'll be nice, because I'm, frankly, personally, kind of tired of trying to figure out who's actually going to be relevant on a night-to-night for the Memphis Grizzlies. Chicago, it's a much easier question, other than will Io DeSumo do enough with Patrick Williams out? And the answer in this one was a strong no. Io was bad. But, he was good in the one before it. So, I think, and maybe I'm being dumb here. It's possible. I've been dumb before. I think I would play Io if Patrick Williams is out again. Just because, like, there's almost no denying he will have to get to 28, 29 minutes. Yeah, he almost has no choice. The problem, as we keep talking about, is one of the usage guys needs to go down for Io to be more of a factor so that he can get some more assists and more rebounds and more shots and all that kind of stuff. We need him to get 10, 11, 12 shots a game instead of 7, which is what he put up in this last one. And I don't know that we can guarantee that. So half a burger kind of guy, if we're going to go like injury replacement value on DeSumo. It was nice to see Josh Giddey have a better game. Not that nice that he played 21 minutes. Blop, plop. Portland took care of Houston on the road. Freddie Van Fleet got himself ejected. Oopsies. That didn't go so great. And Dylan Brooks battling through an illness, and Jalen Green's got the same thing. So it seems like the Rockets, maybe the whole team has freaking flu bug or whatever, and they played like it. Probably just dumped the box. This was about as bad as it's going to go. Notable that Jabari Smith Jr. is back on a little bit of a better surge, and this was always what we kind of expected would happen, which was I think my terminology, I'll try to repeat roughly what I said before, which is Jabari Smith Jr. probably ends up as more of a filler level guy this year. So someone between like 105 and 150. But he was never going to be that 180 to 200 range guy because Tari Eason was outplaying him pretty consistently. But that was always going to kind of bounce back and forth a little. And at some point, Jabari was going to go on a better run. I think if he's on a heater, this would be a time to play him. And then everybody's going to be like, Dan, you're a jerk for saying I should have dropped him. I actually don't think so. You guys have to try to remember that things all happen in 2 and 3 week waves often in the NBA. So there might be a 2-3 week wave here where Jabari Smith is a little better. And then, the first 4 weeks of the year, he was awful. It all has to do with what wave we're in at a given moment. This, by the way, is another good example of why you're hanging on to Amen Thompson. But again, I don't want to read too much into the Houston box. This one was a little bit goofball. As far as Portland goes, Jeremy Grant was good enough to try to sell. Always try to sell. But bad news here. Donovan Clingan played through a little bit of a knee thing. He did have 19 rebounds and 3 blocks, but now he's out for probably a couple of ball games. DeAndre Ayton is still out with the finger thing. I don't know when the hell he's going to show back up again. The good news there is that with both Clingan and Ayton out, we are left with Time Lord. And he probably can't go more than about 25 minutes in a ball game, but 25 minutes of Robert Williams is a top 50 guy. So get Robert Williams into every damn lineup. Portland, thinking through their schedule right now, let me triple check myself on the Portland schedule. I think they go every other day. Yeah, they're every other day this week. Where are they tonight? I marked something down wrong. Portland tonight is in Memphis. There we go. Marked something down wrong there. They're in Memphis. Then they got Indiana on Wednesday. That's a crowded one. Sacramento Friday. Dallas Sunday. I mean, one of those guys. Ayton might be back. Clingan might be back. It's hard to know. But the every other day thing is good because that means no scheduled rest days, most likely for Robert Williams. So I think he's a guy you could definitely roster in all formats right now. Definitely Games Cap Roto. And on top of everything else, Denny Avdia, who played 33 minutes in this one, might be forced to play 30 minutes a game because, first of all, no Scoot right now, which I know doesn't seem like it would impact Avdia directly, but it bumps someone like an Anthony Simons or down to point guard a bit more, Delano Banton down to point guard a little bit more. So then there's just like everybody slides down a pocket on the roster, and that opens up some time at small forward, power forward for Avdia. I have to admit, I'm a little bit nervous to take that plunge because he might be bad and they might play him 18 minutes. Robert Williams is the one that's the near guarantee. We don't get too many near guarantees, but that's pretty close. Charlotte, Brandon Miller is on a crazy run. LaMelo Ball had 50 in this one, and they lost. Oopsies. Cody Martin is on a pretty good little defensive stats run. Oh, by the way, we got an update on Grant Williams. He's out for the year. Oh, that's unfortunate. But it does sound like the other big men are close. So Charlotte, you got a few things cooking here. First of all, Moussa Diabate is going to have to play 30 minutes. So if you want 10-plus rebounds and probably 2 defensive stats, he's a guy you could drop into your lineup. Cody Martin's not going to give you a whole lot besides some steals and blocks, but he probably will have to play 26 to 29 minutes also, given all the injuries on this team. Josh Green is more of a watch list guy. And frankly, Cody Martin is more of a watch list guy as well. But Diabate is the guy who's got kind of unfettered access to big man minutes right now because they just don't have any choice. And, Brandon Miller doing this much, playing this well with no Miles Bridges also, this is a really great moment to see if you could maybe get like a top 40 kind of guy. Who knows? You might. Milwaukee's quietly playing a little bit better these days. They're up to 8-9. They won 4 games in a row. And that's the beauty of the Eastern Conference. You don't have to go on a long run to get back into it. No surprises. No surprises. Gary Trent is kind of like a little bit warm these days, but you got bigger stones than I do if you're dropping him into a lineup. Warriors lost in San Antonio. I don't know what the hell happened here. Andrew Wiggins continues to be in one of his, I'm going to do a lot of stuff modes, so definitely play Wiggins while that's going on. Trace Jackson-Davis got a little minutes bump, probably because of the Wemby effect, but I'm not doing anything with him. I'm not doing anything with Lindy Waters. I don't know how many times I need to tell you guys that Brandon Podziemski doesn't belong on rosters. Hopefully this game will do the trick. Buddy Hield is the one that's still kind of a little bit up in the air. If he warms up, then you'll probably want to play him. And you know your leagues better than I do. In most of my leagues, if I dropped Buddy Hield, and I don't actually have him anywhere, but if I did and I dropped him, someone would probably pick him up. In yours, maybe not. If you can get away with dropping Hield and then trying to get him back when he warms back up again, then that's the most efficient way to do it. But again, I don't know if you're going to be able to get him back. Meantime, over on the San Antonio side, Harrison Barnes continues to stick it in my face because I keep saying I can't imagine this continues, and then now he's done it 3 games in a row. I know, no Devin Vassell, no Jeremy Sohan. Obviously, there's a lane open for Barnes, but he did it on 8 shots in this game. It just doesn't seem inconceivable that this could continue. So I say nay. I'm not doing the Harrison Barnes thing. Stephon Castle is a really fun young ball player. We'll keep saying the same thing about him. He is more of a head-to-head active stash kind of guy that overall is doing more damage to your percentages than good to the other stuff. But if that needle just continues to slowly tick in the right direction, if the percentages get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better, there is a way that he could kind of crest over into the doing more good than harm side of that 50-50 meter. As it stands right now, he's not quite there yet. He is more fun to watch than he is to roster. And then if you got Julian Champagny, yeah, I mean, he's doing just enough. That's a trademark low-end fill-in option. This one was ugly. Lakers were leading this game, I think, by 6 at halftime, and then they just got spanked in the third quarter, and it was the usual suspects for Denver, plus a little bonus Russell Westbrook in there. But Jokic is back. And in a big way, Jokic is back. Jamal Murray got poked in the eye. He came back, if that was something you were thinking about. Everything else is kind of the same. As far as Westbrook goes, I mean, this was just the case of him picking on a really, really bad Lakers transition defense. Lakers are guarding nobody off a missed bucket, and Russ picked him apart. And you're going to have these games from Russ. He's probably startable in points leagues. There's just no way I'm doing the Russ thing in 9-cat. And then for the Lakers, Anthony Davis was, I guess, due to have a bad game eventually, but this one was a little extra ugly, and he fell down to number 4 in 9-cat because of it. Austin Reeves survived the game. LeBron, kind of semi-survived the game. Rui Hachimura came back and took Dalton Connect's spot in the starting lineup, but Dalton actually had more minutes than Rui, and I think probably both of those guys are just cooked now. And then D'Angelo Russell, who actually played relatively well in the first half, was so god-awful in the second half that he got like 3 minutes, and then they just yanked him the rest of the way. Oopsies. I think we may be at the bottoming out point there, but I don't know. As I said before, I still think you can get Russell off the waiver wire probably soon, and I also said before, I think it was going to keep getting worse before it got better. But at some point here, something's going to pivot and it's going to get better. He's just not like the Lakers can't just use him as this all year, or it's kind of like a misappropriation of funds kind of thing. Like, he has to get in there. Gabe Vincent can't be playing 14 minutes because he can barely shoot. Although he did outshoot him in this ball game, so maybe not the best time to make that example. So, yes, it's not going to be as good as hoped. There's sort of no path for him to get to what second half last year D'Lo was. That's dead. But top 100 D'Lo is still like very much a thing that can and I think will happen. I just think it's going to take a minute to get there. There were 4 teams, ladies and gentlemen, that played on Friday that did not play over the weekend. And Dan actually bothered to look them up this time. So we will scroll down. We'll scroll down. The Atlanta Hawks were one of the teams that didn't play over the weekend. Jalen Johnson continuing to work his way up the board. He had a 0 turnover game. That was fun to see. And that was honestly what his fantasy value probably needs the most, is to get those turnovers down. He's up to number 39 now, inside the top 40. It was always, again, just kind of a matter of time. Bogdan Bogdanovic, 11 shots in 26 minutes. He's coming around. I think we're basically at a point where you could probably start Bogdan. DeAndre Hunter, 29 minutes and 12 shots. That's pretty close. I'm holding Hunter, and I know it's weird for me to say I'm still out on Capella after a 21-11 game, but I'm still kind of out on Capella because there will be plenty of days where Okongwu gets the lion's share of minutes. This just wasn't one of them. If you're punting free throws, you hold on to Capella, I guess, a little bit longer than if you're not. But he's still whatever this version of Clint Capella is, and it's not consistently very good, although better in this one. How's that? Is that a fair way to assess it? And Zachary Reese-O'Shea, obviously not a guy that needs to be rostered. Other teams that didn't play over the weekend, we talked about the Pelicans, but I think we don't even need to talk about the Pelicans because they're about to get 2 main guys back. So that's all very much a like, that's a very much look to the future kind of moment. Oklahoma City, that one's an annoying one because we all just want to watch Isaiah Hartenstein play another ball game. OKC did not play over the weekend. I don't think they played on Friday. Yeah, they haven't played since like Wednesday of last week. So there's not even a game to go over. Same story with Phoenix. They haven't played since Wednesday of last week. OKC also, Wednesday was their last game. Phoenix will play tomorrow after 5 days off. OKC at least plays tonight in Sacramento. So we'll get a little Isaiah Hartenstein in our grills. And then for Phoenix, they get Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal likely back in the lineup for their showdown with the currently flailing Los Angeles Lakers. So again, that's very much a 2 teams where you look towards the future. Phoenix, you're looking towards the future to what are they going to look like when their guys come back. OKC, what's happening here is Caruso going to get to do a little bit more? So there's a lot of stuff going on there, but not much with the past. The hell with the past. Also, we just got word while finishing up the show that Freddie VanVleet will not be suspended for screaming profanities in the face of the referees. He just got fined $50,000. That's a pretty expensive swear jar. And that'll be that. We're going to have another show at some point later on today. I haven't decided exactly what it's going to be or when it's going to drop, but everything's going to be a little bit cockamamie this week because it's Thanksgiving week and kids are home from school. And, yeah. So, quick on the, what's coming up front. Probably 2 shows tomorrow. Probably 2 shows Wednesday. I'm guessing no shows on Thursday. Because Wednesday's, oh man, should try to do one on Thursday morning with the big Wednesday recap. Or does it all get rolled into the Friday weekend review show? I haven't decided on that one yet, but we'll try to get 2 shows back on Friday, although it might be a 1-show Friday, depending again, because like everybody's off and family needs everything and all that stuff. And I'm not talking about my own family. I'm talking about like aunts and uncles and cousins and, in-laws and what, like everybody's in town. And so your days just get sort of blown to smithereens this week. But hopefully there'll be time to get our hot and cold show in. I want to get a buy or a sell show in. And tomorrow, I think we'll be doing a show with my buddy Adam King. I haven't figured out exactly what the content's going to be on that one, but that should be happening tomorrow. And that might be a mailbag show. We haven't done that in a little bit. Also, Jackson Hayes, by the way, also just got ruled back in for the Lakers for tomorrow. That doesn't change a whole lot other than just, makes it so that they're a tiny bit more competitive in the minutes when AD's not on the floor. Yeah, let's wrap it up. That's 45 minutes. That's enough. I'm Dan Vespris. Follow on Twitter at Dan Vespris. Follow Old Man Squad on the new Blue Sky. Hit that like button on your way out. I forgot to yell at you guys to subscribe at the beginning of the show, but please do that also. And again, if you have a moment, iTunes, Spotify listeners, hit that 5-star review. That helps us bump little by little up the board, and we can continue to make this a viable career path. Weird, I know. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'll talk to you guys a little bit later on today. Later.